and I still haven't written a screenplay knowing that I was going to be directing it. In the case of Molly's Game, Chicago 7, and now being the Ricardos, I wrote it not knowing I was going to be the director of it. I think if I was writing Chicago 7, knowing that I was going to direct it, I think I would have worked really hard to find a way to do it without the two riots.
Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America. Today's episode takes us behind the scenes of director Aaron Sorkin's historical drama, The Trial of the Chicago 7. The film recounts the infamous and unfair trial of 7 political activists after a peaceful protest turned into a violent clash with the police at the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago. In addition to The Trial of the Chicago 7, Mr. Sorkin's directorial credits include 2017's DGA Award-nominated feature film, Molly's Game. Mr. Sorkin spoke with director David Fincher about filming The Trial of the Chicago 7 in front of a virtual audience. Listen on for their spoiler-filled conversation.
Aaron, thank you for letting me do this.
Thank you for doing it, David. Great to see you.
I hope it's just the right amount of excruciating. But I want to move this. I want to try to cover as much ground as possible because I'm easily bored. But I also want to give you. I have things sort of subdivided in terms of just overall kind of progressions in casting and production and post-production. But I wanted to start first. I've always found your writing appealing personally, in the same way that I always loved Bill Goldman's. And the reason for that is you're a decidedly serious person who is actually writing comedies about really dramatic ventures that have real stakes. And the example that I have is like in Butch and Sundance, where they're debating the different ways that the super posse might kill them. When he says, they could go for position, they could start a rock slide, they could get us that way. What else could they do? I'm sure you know the next line, but it's
I do know the next line. They could surrender, but yeah.
But I don't think we got to count on that.
Yeah.
Tell me about and that was it occurred to me on social network that you were doing this thing, that the writing, the storytelling was ostensibly comic, and I don't mean that in a derogatory, lightweight sense. It was wildly entertaining in talking about things that were, truly dramatic. And is that something that you're conscious of, or have I disappeared at my own?
No, it is something that I'm conscious of. And by the way, Bill Goldman mentored me beginning from my early 20s. He passed away a few years ago, but he and I were very close. And actually, he was teaching me even before we met, with his screenplays, with his nonfiction. And then he read my first play, which was A Few Good Men, and he saw something in me, and he wanted to teach me how to write screenplays. But yes, I always think, first of all, if you can tell a serious story funny, you're doing yourself a big favor. Part of it, might just come from an insecurity, maybe a healthy insecurity of comedy, drama. I am not good enough at either of them to do only one of them. So I kind of have to mix up my pitches.
Well, but are there other, obviously Goldman is one, but are there other heroes, personal screenwriting heroes that you can point to and sort of say, this is something I got from them or their work. This is something that I.
Certainly Paddy Chayefsky. The answer is, there are a number of screenwriters. And Paddy Chayefsky, for a host of reasons, both Mankiewicz brothers.
Yeah.
Herman and Joseph. Billy Wilder.
Sure.
There are things I get from contemporary screenwriters as well, Tony Kushner and Quentin Tarantino and Mamet. So I'm easily influenced, and as a screenwriter, and now that I've directed a couple of films, I try to be a diagnostician. I'll watch, I'll watch a film of yours. Not necessarily The Social Network, any of them. And I'll love something, and I'll try and reverse engineer it. I will try to, in my mind, first of all, figure out what it was I loved about it, and then try to figure out how you got there. What was the creative thought that you had, and then what were the instructions that you gave to get you there?
Do you ever, I mean, seems like an odd question, but I am actually curious. When you're looking at the pantheon of people who influenced you, who informed how it is that you love movies, why it is that you love movies or cinematic storytelling, do you subdivide directors and writer-directors?
I'm not sure what you mean by subdivide.
Do you think of them differently? Do you put them is Billy Wilder a different thing to you than Michael Curtiz, or George Roy Hill a different thing to you than Woody Allen? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Animals.
Yes. They are different things. There are writer directors, for instance, who it's clear to me that they have written a screenplay so that they can direct it.
Yes.
Okay. They don't want someone to write it for them. They don't want to wait around for someone to write it for them. I have this idea. I'm putting it on paper, and I'm a big shot director, so I can get it made. And there are writer directors who I can tell they are writers, and they're directing out of a defensive posture. They're directing because they don't want a director to hurt the screenplay. And I'm neither of those. I've been hearing ever since I started writing movies, screenwriters talk about how they have to protect their screenplays, and I never like hearing that. First of all, I'm thinking, protected from whom? That director should be your best friend. That's your closest collaborator.
And hopefully ally.
Right. Yes, of course. Hopefully it's like the relationship that I have when I do a play with the director. And then Molly's Game came along. I still haven't. I'm about to start directing my third film in a few weeks. We were just talking about it before we came on. And I still haven't written a screenplay knowing that I was going to be directing it. In the case of Molly's Game, Chicago 7, and now Being the Ricardos, I wrote it not knowing I was going to be the director of it, which, by the way, that may have been a lucky break for me.
Tell me why.
I think if I was writing Chicago 7, knowing that I was going to direct it, I think I would have worked really hard to find a way to do it without the two riots. Because I was thinking, how do you stage these, especially on our budget? How do you stage this?
Well, did you have in mind, because I remember reading the script, and I don't recall whether or not there was, because the use of the actual footage and how it was sort of you folded into the melange really worked incredibly well as so a lot of times when I look at even when I look at something like JFK, which was from a formal standpoint, truly awesome. The first experience of seeing the Zapruder film kind of like, hidden amongst all this other Super 8 and 16 millimeter footage of Dealey Plaza but but oftentimes the restaging tends to feel like these two things are offered to do the same thing or to blur the line between them. And what I loved about Chicago 7 was it seemed to me that the use of the real footage only further kind of deepened the roots of or the tap roots of the uncivility of it. And so in that way, it was more potent to me than just seeing the footage or just seeing the recreation. Sorry.
Well, that's music to my ears. And here's why. That, you know, sort of famously now, it took 14 years to get the film made. And one of the big reasons, one of the big reasons were the two riot sequences, that they were budget busters. That, you know, a film like Chicago 7 has to fit into a budget that the studio feels is proportional with the audience's appetite. In other words, there wasn't going to be a lot of money to make Chicago 7.
Yeah.
And year after year would go by. Trump started running for president. He got elected president. And he was holding these rallies where there'd be a protester, and he'd start getting nostalgic about the old days when we carry that guy out of here on a stretcher. I'd like to beat the crap out of him.
Yeah.
And it was Steven Spielberg who said, okay, the time to make the movie is now. By then I had directed Molly's Game. I directed my first film. He was sufficiently pleased with that he thought I should direct Chicago 7. And he said, and now the riots are your problem. So with, I can't give enough credit to our DP Faden Papamichael and our editor Alan Baumgarten. The lucky break that we caught was that we were able to shoot it in Grant Park and on Michigan Avenue where the riots actually took place, which meant that we would be able to use archival footage. So I came up with a plan, and I don't know if you found this or if you've ever had to find this, because you know why I don't get a David Fincher schedule or a David Fincher budget.
You can't. You won't without asking. But go ahead.
I have found that first of all, when you're doing something, when you're making a creative choice because of a budgetary necessity, you want to make it seem like that was going to be the choice you'd have made if you had an unlimited budget, right?
I agree. Yeah. It felt like that.
And that I find that a constraint like that forces you to get creative. It forces you to have an idea. So, okay, I'm not going to be able to pull back on a crane and show thousands and thousands of people in this park like the way you would shoot a sandal and sand battle scene, you know? So after looking through hours and hours and hours of what the archival footage was, and I also couldn't just use the archival footage because A, it wouldn't be very interesting, and B, where are our characters? Our characters are in these scenes. So I came up with this plan, which we came up with this plan, which involved we were going to get a few wide shots, and we were going to take advantage of the tear gas. All right, we've got smoke everywhere. That if we shoot light through smoke. And I'm someone who's like just discovered what happens when you shoot light through smoke. So I wanted smoke in every scene. I could not get enough smoke. It wouldn't matter where we were.
You know, they're finding now that atomized smoke or atomized whatever that glycol stuff is actually good for COVID. So smoke is making a big comeback.
Oh, that's excellent. That's a twofer.
Sorry, go ahead.
We could have been in Attorney General John Mitchell's office. I was asking for smoke. Anyway, we're going to get a few wide shots using the smoke as cover and let the audience's imagination, they were going to see what's happening on the periphery of the smoke, people getting their heads cracked open. And we were just going to show enough kind of arms and legs and movement that our imaginations were going to fill in what was behind the rest of the smoke. And then the rest was going to be very, very tight shots of eyes right before a club hit it, of blood bursting out, of a tear gas canister.
You're just going to go Potemkin wild.
Yes.
That's
yes.
Like any card-carrying member of the DGA, you would just go Potemkin wild with some smoke in the BG.
Listen, this smoke thing, it is my best friend. Okay.
You know that there's that wonderful.
And then I'm sorry, but once we then mix that in the cocktail with the archival footage at just the right moment, it was really working. And then Stephen was the one who came along and said,
crosscut these,
desaturate that, put it in black and white, the archival footage, which made a lot of sense. We didn't want to be pretending that the archival footage was ours. And there it was.
There's that moment. There's the great New York sequence in Butch Cassidy that had the same issues, because they were supposed to shoot this whole montage, and they were going to shoot on the Hello Dolly, the set that they had built at Fox, and they wouldn't let them at the last minute, so they did it all with stills.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Because I, until this very second, thought I knew everything there was to know about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
The whole
that sequence, New York section was not supposed to be stills?
Yeah. It was originally they're supposed to shoot on the Hello Dolly set. And they were at the last minute, they decided, because the release date had been moved, that they didn't want people to see that set.
I didn't know that.
Hello Dolly.
I didn't know that.
So
what I did know is that when Bill was researching the thing, which back then you did by going to the New York Public Library.
Yes.
So he's researching Butch and Sundance, and writers talk about having a secret, having something in their pocket that they can bring out at just the right moment. And when Bill found out that the Sundance Kid couldn't swim, all I have to do is get him to the edge of that cliff, and I've got a scene.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, so so this originally started as, I mean, I know you've told this before, but I would like for the people, for the uninitiated, this started as a gig that you were going to solve a problem for. It was Amblin or DreamWorks, or
it was. You know what? I'll be honest with you. I'm never sure what the difference is between Amblin and DreamWorks. It was Stephen.
There's synergy. There's synergy
yes.
there. That's why you can't tell.
In 2004, I was summoned to Steven Spielberg's house on a Saturday morning, which, just to be clear, isn't common. I don't hang with Steven. We don't watch college football together.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Play PlayStation. You don't.
He said that he wanted to make a movie about the Chicago 7. And I said, that sounds great. Count me in. I'm your guy. Left his house and called my father and asked him who the Chicago 7 were.
And said, Chicago 7, that's like the Bulls before Michael Jordan. Like, who are we talking about?
It's a cricket team. I was saying yes to doing a movie with Stephen.
No dummy, Aaron Sorkin said yes.
Yes. It took, there was a lot of research to do. There are a dozen or so good books written about them, some of them by the defendants. There's a 21,000-page trial transcript. But most critically, I got to spend time with Tom Hayden, who was alive at the time. He's no longer alive.
Yes.
And it was from Tom that I was able to get, the personal tension between Tom and Abby. And so the film organized itself into 3 stories that I was going to tell at once. The courtroom drama, the evolution of the riot. How did what was supposed to be a peaceful protest turn into such a violent clash with police and the National Guard? And then the third, more personal story about these 2 guys, Tom and Abby, who are on the same side, but plainly can't stand each other, and each thinks that the other is doing harm to the cause.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, when I read the script years ago, and it's funny because I read it and I appreciated it, but I honestly didn't recall the ending until, as I was watching it, until I got to it, until I got to the reading of the names. And I thought, I'm not even sure if I had read it that it would have occupied the same place in my appreciation that it did when I finally saw it. It kind of gives you chills. You kind of go, this is such a simple way to end this whole story. It's such a beautiful, and yet the kind of confidence that it takes to say, we're building to this thing, and then the guy's just going to start reading this list at night. Like, I mean, there are days when we show up for work and we go, oh God, please, like, I hope this comes together. Did you have that with that, or did you just know?
I did have it with that. I'm not sure which draft of the script you read. It was a long time before.
Yeah.
And there were many, many drafts of the script, all of which had potential. You read all of them and say, there's a movie in here. It needs script work.
Yeah.
But
there was always the ending.
There was always the ending.
And that's how it actually. Was any of that embellished, or was it?
No, that happened. It's just that it didn't happen on the day of the sentencing.
Okay.
So I put it there.
Yeah.
What I had imagined, I told everyone that I didn't want the movie to be about. I wanted the movie to be about today and not about 1968. And this was before I knew how much about today it was going to be, right? This was before the riots broke out in Minneapolis and Kenosha and Portland, and the protesters were met by riot sticks and tear gas. Right. Certainly before Donald Trump went and committed the exact crime that the Chicago 7 were on trial for. So I told everybody, we're not going to lean into the 60s, okay? We're not going to flood the frame with a psychedelic aesthetic, and it's not going to be the 60s protest soundtrack, okay? We're not going to hear Fortunate Son and Sympathy for the Devil. In fact, we're not going to use any,
anything for the
source music.
Yeah.
We're not going to use any source music.
Yeah.
It's going to be all original score, and it's going to be a big orchestral score. Daniel Pemberton wrote the score. It's going to be a film score. Mm-hmm. Except for the end, except for that moment that you're talking about, when I said I'm going to find someone to do a great cover of Here Comes the Sun. Right. And we're going to feel exactly the way I want us to feel. We're going to feel like we did when most of us felt when Biden was sworn in. Yeah. And we got to that moment in the editing room, and it didn't work at all. And it's not just that moment that didn't work. It was the scene that didn't work, which meant the film didn't work. It's the last scene in the movie. And you were left feeling nothing after all this. And that's scary. It's one thing to go in at the beginning of post and look at the editor's assembly and say, my God, did I do anything right? It's another to get to the end and like your thing that you've had like for years, you knew you were going to do this, and you're going to have this great cover of Here Comes the Sun, and there's going to be a lump in our throat. Yeah. And it didn't happen. So I went back to Daniel Pemberton, and I told him early on, you're not going to get to write the last cue of the movie. Composers want to do that. You're not going to get to write the last cue of the movie because it's going to be.
They feel a little protective of that. Strangely.
I get it, okay? Like if you said to me, you're not going to get to write the last scene of the film, I'm just going to wing it.
Yeah. No, by that point, like if it's not organic to how the
that's right. If it's
then you've wasted everyone's time up until that.
I went back to Daniel Pemberton and I said, I need you to write something better than the Beatles wrote. Okay, I'm not kidding.
And I know how little you think of the Beatles and their discography.
And that's right. And he did it. He wrote the right cue. I was able to play him an Alexander Desplat cue that I thought did the trick.
The vibe.
And when you get off of this, you're going to think about it for a minute, and you're going to realize what cue it is.
I don't know.
Okay, it's
Okay.
fair enough.
All right.
But it wasn't. It was not musical plagiarism.
Okay.
It
No,
inspired him to write the
of
cue that he
course,
wrote.
of
But
course.
that is how that
That's how you got there.
ended up working.
Okay, so I want to go into casting a little bit because you do have a spectacular ensemble, and but I now does it change? Does it frame the task at hand for you in casting when when it's Molly's game? It starts with Molly, and it starts with Molly's dad, and then it starts with her attorney, and then you kind of have, like, when you're putting that team together, you're going, okay, I've got to have a center, and I've got to have a point guard, and but when you're doing something, the Chicago 7, and I mean, Kunstler is going to be like, that is, we'll get to him in a second, but do you approach the casting of something like that differently? Are you sort of waiting to see 3 or 4 or 5 faces before you kind of go, okay, now I know how to populate the rest of this world? Or
In a couple of cases, when Mark Rylance says he wants to play Kunstler, I don't need to look at any more faces. He will play Kunstler.
I have that as a who came up with Mark Rylance, because it's so good.
I did one of these. Let's let Mark Rylance pass, and when he passes, we'll talk about the part.
So you sent it to him and said, "What do you think?" And he said,
"Yeah." I sent it to him with a note saying, "We'll be shooting all of your scenes in New Jersey in January and February, and we're going to be paying you in coupons."
And what every actor wants to hear.
Yeah.
No,
the first person cast was Sasha.
Yeah.
Because Steven cast Sasha, 12 years ago.
Wow.
And when Sasha heard that this was happening again, he got in touch with me to make clear that the part was still his.
Yeah.
He hasn't given it up, and I won't be looking at any other actors for that.
It's so interesting to me because I actually know Sasha personally pretty well, and I had, and it's funny because whenever I think of Abby Hoffman, I see someone sort of the bull in the china shop. You see someone sort of careening through, like, friends, enemies, whatever, countrymen. He's all elbows, and he's saying it's both feet in talking out of the side of one side of his mouth. So I was so, when I heard Sasha, because what I know about Sasha, and this is something that I know you now have this experience with him, he's so deft and specific, and he's such an intellect about the things that he's doing. He's so thoughtful. I mean, even, and by the way, did he ever show you the makeup test of him as Freddie Mercury?
No, I would love to see that.
Dude.
I would love to see that.
You have to see these photos are spectacular. Anyway, but it was so weird for me because I don't really think of Borat as being that far from Abby, but I don't think of him as Borat. I think of Borat as a, and he is so quiet and thoughtful, and he chooses his words so specifically that, I'd always seen, some version of 30-year-old, Cliff Gorman, and then, may he rest in peace. But to see Sasha do this, at first I was really nervous, and then I found him to be so winning. And so
I was nervous too, not just about Sasha. I was nervous about everything. But for the first couple of weeks of shooting, for Sasha, it was kind of marching down the street and chanting. We hadn't gotten to much hard work yet. And then we got into the courtroom, and everybody had the day circled on their calendar when we were shooting his testimony on the stand. And I knew what people, like the producers, were concerned about. In a scene where you have to be dead serious, quiet, simple, and honest. Okay. Can Sasha swing that bat? Can he do that? The answer is he well can.
Yes.
He absolutely can.
Now,
He
I
didn't
did
chafe
notice.
against it.
I did notice that you have more than 40 producers on this film. Was there any aspect of you that wanted to just hand out tie-dye t-shirts and use them as extras in your life? Like, did you just...
First of all, I did not
You
know
have
how
more
many producers.
Teamsters. You have more producers than you have Teamsters. And a movie that shot in Jersey?
Mostly in Jersey, yes.
How do you have a movie that has more?
It was not until I saw the final cut. Okay, I mean the final. Netflix had a drive-in premiere for us in the parking lot at the Rose Bowl, and so I was looking at like the cut the day before we were showing it there. It's not like there were any more notes to give. We couldn't make any changes. But they did have the full credit sequence in, and they wanted me to look at it. So I did, and I couldn't believe my eyes. There was one card that had 16 names on it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that everybody, by the way, did play
a hell of a job. Everybody showed up.
An important role in getting the movie on, and I'm grateful to each and every one of them, David.
Okay.
I am.
Okay. Okay, sidebar. How much do you love John Carroll Lynch? Like, is he?
Oh, as much, the maximum amount.
Yeah, exactly. 11 to 11.
Yeah, because he's great. He's great on every take, and he's just he's a joy to spend a long day of work with.
And he's always listening. He's always listening to like anything that your conversation that you're having with somebody else. He's sitting, he's up, and then he'll overhear stuff and go, "Does that apply to me?" And it's like, no, that's very. It's always like he's always.
The same thing is true when the camera is rolling.
Yeah.
And in the courtroom, I mean, a lot of the drama in the courtroom, really, except for Abby's testimony and Michael Keaton's testimony. What we're interested in when a witness is on the stand is our guy's reaction to it. So the coverage in the courtroom was going to be important. It was days of coverage. And one of the things that I was concerned about are, listen, most of these guys are used to starring in their own movies. Yeah. Every day is their big scene. Yeah. They're not used to, waiting 4 days and then they have a line.
Yeah. That was Rashida in Social Network. It was like, you're going to do 18 days and then you're finally going to have some, you're basically in the background for.
Exactly right. But how important was Rashida in the Social Network?
Well, and then you get to the scene where you need Rashida and then you go, oh my God, like she comes out of the wings, takes center stage, the spotlight comes on, she kills it, mic drop, and you're done.
So all these guys were, they like to pass as much as they like to shoot.
I loved Kelvin Harrison, the guy who played Fred Hampton.
Me too.
He's so easy and so it's so watchable and yet not distracting. You know what I mean? And that's there's so often that actors are trying to be seen and you go, no, I don't want to see all this Sturm and Drang happening right now. I just want to see enough of it that I go, oh, there's still antipathy over there by the bank.
That's right.
I love Michael Keaton and he's tough. He's tough to my way of thinking because he has that sort of subcutaneous burn thing. It's like if you're not using that, then you're wasting Michael. And I just thought the way he comes into the movie, the way that he delivers and then finally his scene on the stand, it's just like, it's so ruthlessly efficient in terms of.
I know he'd be thrilled to hear you say that. I am.
I mean, he's great.
Michael, by the way, was one of these guys who just raised his hand and said, do you have anyone to play Ramsey Clark yet? And
really? Well, I mean, it's like he's in Jackie Brown, right? I mean, he just has like there are those moments where he does stuff and you just go, for a guy who can take center stage and take all the attention, he can be part of an ensemble in a really meaningful way.
I think that one of the things Michael has going for him is the fact that he was a superstar, right? Then went away for a while, and then Birdman, and he's back.
Yeah.
He's back with a kind of gravitas of,
Yeah.
I've had the near-death experience. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
We were lucky to have him, and Frank Langella, who my meeting with Frank. The first time I saw Frank Langella, I saw him play Dracula on Broadway. Okay, and I was a
remember
kid.
that. Yeah.
And
1978, right? 77, 78, something like that.
77.
Yes. Okay.
Nice.
Thanks.
Nice. He stalked the stage, just like the work he did with his cape was incredible. And he's always seemed like a very scary guy to me. And I met with him, and he is the nicest guy in the world. Really nice guy. He had just come out with a new book, an autobiographical thing, just about all of the women in his life, beginning with Marilyn Monroe. And you would eat this up. Just the women he's like, he dated Elizabeth Taylor for a while, and he dated Whoopi Goldberg for a while. So there's quite a range.
Yeah, there it is.
Anyway, he said to me at this
Both
meeting.
very discerning.
He said at our first meeting, would it be okay with you if I don't want to hang out with the rest of the cast of Craft Service. I don't want to be yucking it up with them between takes.
Smart.
Can I, when we're called to the courtroom set, and that's where all the scenes were, can you bring me in a minute later? Can I come in a different door? He only wanted these guys to see him in his judge's robe at the table as that guy.
Very
and he only wanted to see them sitting down there as defendants.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, sure. And I told the other guys that's what's going to be going on. And everybody, particularly Jeremy Strong.
Jeremy, of course, is going, wait, what does that mean? What has he seen that he doesn't like?
By the end of the first day, Frank called me over and said, hey, listen, they seem to be having a lot of fun over there. I'm going to go hang out. Lasted a day.
He was like, my Daniel Day-Lewis thing is to a quick close. It's only 3:30 on Monday, but
now on the other hand, Jeremy, who did was Daniel Day-Lewis's assistant for a couple of years, kind of learned at the feet of Daniel Day-Lewis. He asked to spray him with real tear gas, which is something I believe you would do. Like I said, no, I'm not willing to spray poison gas at the actors.
I would.
And at the moment I said that, I thought to myself, but I know an excellent director who wouldn't have a problem.
I can't do this for moral and ethical reasons, but I know someone who can.
Yeah. What he would have is it was mostly off-duty Chicago police officers who were playing the Chicago police officers.
By the way, you can't make that. They were great.
No, you can't. And many of them were the sons of Chicago police officers who were there in 68.
How were they with the content? Was anybody prickly with the?
I was worried about that in the weeks leading up. Like, what kind of reception are we going to get? They were psyched. Now, they were also enjoying the cosplay of beating up hippies. Yeah. They liked that. But they felt that this was kind of a healing thing of the people pretending to be police officers and the people pretending to be protesters. But Jeremy Strong befriended several of them. And he didn't bother asking permission for this. He just did this on his own. A minute before the cameras started rolling on any take where there was confrontation between the police and protesters, including Jeremy, he would have an off-duty cop beat the crap out of him. I mean it, not pretend to. lift him up in the air and throw him down on the ground and really rough him up and like, twist his arms behind him and really, really get physical with him. And that pumped Jeremy up for a take that was going to last 3 seconds. Okay. It was going to be a shot where like Jeremy in soft focus, just going free Tom Hayden and cut. That was going to be it. That's what they needed.
You're going, for litigious reasons, we need to curtail some of this.
I know that now.
So I wanted to talk about, so I, more than most, know the pitfalls of people trying to make Sorkinese their own. And the joy of this particular patois is the accretion of meaning as the speaker makes his way to his point, and the gift that this process of thinking aloud provides the audience in the film. Are there any doubters any longer? Are there still people who like insist on saying, no, I can take what you've given me, but I need to give it my own special top spin?
I'm certain there are plenty of doubters, but I have not met them or cast them in the film
Forever.
Even Sasha, who is a more gifted improviser you're not going to meet in the world.
No,
right?
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Ask Rudy.
Understood that if he started ad-libbing, it would start to sound like he was in a different movie.
Yeah.
All of a sudden. So what would happen is I'd get back to my hotel at night after we'd wrap for the day. There'd be an email from Sasha with an Abby quote that he just found saying, is there any way we can get this in here? And I'd always tell him the same thing. It's a great quote. It really is. But, we're not doing the best of Abby Hoffman. And we have to keep the story moving forward.
Listen, if Abby had real wit, like we'd use that stuff, but I'm kidding. Abby Hoffman was a funny guy. Okay.
Abby Hoffman was sometimes funny, and I can argue both Abby and Tom's case. Yeah. I can stand by Tom's argument that by making a buffoon out of yourself and the rest of us, you are harming this cause for decades to come.
Yeah, I agree.
I can make Abby's case too.
Well, and what I think is so relevant is the fact that when you see Abby, he's at the hungry eye, and you're going, and it puts it it puts it in Hayden's perspective, which is, look, there's swaying public opinion, one drunken reveler at a time, but this is not a serious enclave for serious discussion of these real issues, and therefore we risk it being seen as something vaguely dilettantish and
right. And I'm sure that Abby supporters would say to you that Abby took time off the war, that the war ended earlier because of Abby. And I think that if Tom Hayden heard someone say that, he'd say, "You're out of your mind. He didn't take 1 minute off that war."
Interesting. Even when you were doing Hayden died in
about 4 years ago.
2017, something like that, right? So did they ever, obviously they buried the hatchet, or they, the effect of what they had gone through together left them.
It did, but also remember, first of all, not long after this all ended, Abby had to go underground.
Yeah.
For about 5 years for other charges.
Yeah.
And that Abby had undiagnosed or undiagnosable at the time bipolar disorder.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, explains a lot.
Yes.
Do you have in terms of projects that you pick or that do you ever take into account your filmography? Do you ever look at things like, well, I don't know. is that too much in the biopic realm, or should I stay? Or like, will you now curtail any and all courtroom dramas for?
No, I won't. First of all, I love courtroom dramas, and if all I ever did for the rest of my life were courtroom dramas, I'd be a happy guy. I don't. When I decide, okay, this is going to be my next project, which is a courtship that takes me a while to. There have been times. Look, The Social Network. I read a 4-page summary of what happened, and I did, without really knowing what the movie was going to be about.
What to do.
I knew I wanted in, that there was a story here. But one of the things that was drawing me to it was I was picturing dual depositions.
Yeah.
So there was a courtroom drama-y aspect to it. But in terms of, do I think about my filmography?
Well, you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean.
There's a sense, I think, that, especially, like there's a sense now that if you're not releasing a movie in summer, then you're Oscar baiting, right? And
Right.
I know you and I don't think in terms of, oh, well, we've got to have something ready for the end of the year for that, for that prom.
That's right.
And I also wonder on the other side, because I can't, if I can't tell you how many times I've stamped my little foot saying no more serial killers, only to go, Mindhunter, that's sort of interesting. And then the windfall of scorn that goes with it. But
it's more like this.
Yeah.
Every baseball player, every hitter has their pitch, okay? Their pitch that they love. Low and outside, high and inside, a hanging curveball, a changeup, their pitch. I found this out during Moneyball. In the course of a baseball game, the average hitter is going to see 14-point-something pitches, okay? And out of that 14-point-something pitches, 1-point-something is going to be his pitch, okay?
So when he sees,
and you don't want to swing and miss at your pitch, okay? That's why sometimes, you see a batter, a strikeout or a ground out, they're not thrilled with it, but they walk back to the dugout, they get it. Most of the time they're going to get out. And then sometimes they break the bat over their head, and it's because they got out on their pitch.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a good pitch to hit. I'm thinking, do I have a chance to write, and then if I'm going to direct it, make a good movie? A chance is all I'm looking for.
Right.
And if the answer is yes, it's not likely I'm not going to do it, even if it is literally called The Social Network.
Do you predict a future where every coffee table in your house is littered with untitled Aaron Sorkin fall project, or are you considering writing for the rest of us, or? I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. I just know that there's, at least 50 members of the DGA who are probably going, oh, please, oh, please.
I will say again, let me say this, and then I think I'm afraid we're out of time. I've directed twice now, and I have enjoyed it.
Really?
I've enjoyed it. And I think that my second time, I was better than my first time. I think that I learned. And obviously, we haven't gone into this, but
it's many, many degrees of complexity, more confounding, that you were able to make this leap so deftly. You know what I mean? It is what you did this time around it is not easy. Having done that,
I appreciate that. And David, standing next to you for however many months making a film, you really have to not be paying attention not to learn something.
Did you shoot a lot of takes?
No, because I don't have a Fincher schedule, okay? When I have it, I have to go on. I have to move on. You go 70 takes past where you have it.
Stop.
And no, I'm thrilled about that, because what you do is you're able to simulate a preview period that a play would have. You're able to get the actors, Jesse and Rooney, in the first scene to casualize the language, so it's not so operatic.
I still have that email from you.
What's the email?
You said the email where you wrote after we shot the opening scene of Social Network, because there were so many people going, oh, we're still doing, because we had shot 54 takes or whatever of the first 2 camera simultaneous, so looking opposite direction. So it was a very, very tricky thing to get there. But I remember you in the rehearsal. I mean, the rehearsal in the conference room, and then the rehearsal on the set the day, an hour and a half before we started lighting and doing all that. But you said, I see what it is that you're doing. I understand. I can see these micro shifts in the way that that these very young people are able to feel like they fit, like they developed a relationship over the first 4 hours of that shoot day that was incredibly important to that opening scene.
It was, and just the sheer repetition of the language of an 8.5-page scene with pretty dense language, again, allowed them to casualize it, so that they were tossing it off like they were reciting their phone number. And it was fantastic. I don't have that much room to work with, so I have to find other ways to simulate that preview period. I have to get them to casualize the language too.
You have 40 producers. Like, is there any time that you just said, look, I'm going to cut 10 producers loose and shoot for another 3 days? There's no point in...
I did not know about the number of producers until the day before the Rose Bowl premiere. I'm not here to judge. No, I just thought it was amusing when I saw it, because I remember I guess the first time I saw it was on Netflix in preview before they had the credits on, because I hadn't seen the credits. That's right.
Until,
yes, I sent it to you. I gave you a
yeah. And so I didn't know. And then when I saw it again, because I was making my little list of questions and I was watching, and I was like, holy God. Anyway, nothing against producers. Everyone needs oversight, me especially.
Yes, and I just, again, want to say that all of the producers on Chicago 7.
No, there's not a moment that you don't feel the effect of their imprimatur. Aaron, thank you. I know it's 3:53.
David, no kidding. I know you hate this kind of thing.
I love talking to you.
No, but it's a big, what I want to say is it's a big deal for me to have this conversation with you.
It is my honor and pleasure.
And I get to do it next week.
Indeed. Well, hope, unless I get hit by space junk. Okay.
I don't see it happening. Thanks a lot, man.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir.
Take it easy.
Thanks again for listening to another DGA Q&A. If you'd like to hear more, The Director's Cut is available wherever you listen to podcasts. Stay tuned in the coming weeks as we bring you discussions of films from John Lee Hancock, Fisher Stevens, and George C. Wolfe. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can help fellow film buffs find the show. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America. Music is by Dan Wally.